So this video is for anyone who struggles to trust people, who may never be fully comfortable letting their guard down around unfamiliar people. And as sad as it sounds, is almost waiting for the people in their life to betray them. So I'm going to talk about my experiences with this, because this is something that I've battled with. It's quite a raw topic for me, but we're going to talk about the cause of this and what do we do about it, if anything. So I rarely come on here and talk about my job or what I do for work, but basically I'm 24, so I'm fairly early on in my career, and I'm on what you call a graduate program. So I was successful in getting onto this quite competitive scheme where I get accepted into an organisation. It's lots of different organisations up and down the country, and only about 200 people in the entire country get in straight out of university. And it's going to sound like I'm bragging a little bit, just me saying that, but I think therein lies one of the problems I'm going to talk to you about. So we have these training days where all of the different graduates come together, and they kind of force us to network a little bit, and we do group exercises and teamwork and things like that. This is already quite a challenge for me because I'm quite introverted, and even though I do enjoy the experience of meeting new people, around these people in particular, there's a problem. So ever since getting on this scheme, because in some ways I do look at it as a miracle, because I literally had nothing else going for me at the time. Like, this was my very last application. I was banking on this, and I really didn't have much expectations for it because I'm coming at it from quite a different angle to the normal person. I didn't come from a really prestigious university. There's people who've made it onto this scheme from Oxford and Cambridge. I didn't go to any kind of university like that. I didn't do the traditional degree for this kind of job either. But somehow I still made it, and I'm pretty happy with that. But I want you to think for a moment. So imagine the kinds of people going along to these networking days. And there are some good people there. Well, what I'm about to say doesn't mean they can't be good people, is rather what I would say. But think about it. When are you ever going to get that type of person, as many of this type of person in the same room? Everyone in there has this in common. They're all very, very ambitious, career driven. As I said, some of these people have degrees from Oxford and Cambridge. They're all very intelligent. Not just intelligent, they're confident. They almost know how to kind of sell themselves. Most of them have more extroverted personalities. And it can be quite intense. Some of this is undoubtedly just my own insecurities, going in knowing all of this information about them versus myself. I didn't go to one of these fancy universities. And again, as an introvert, I like meeting new people, but I feel these things become quite performative. These events almost feel a bit competitive. Everyone meets up after 4 months. So we've got 4 months of news from each person, how much they've achieved in their career. It all starts to feel a little bit competitive and status oriented. So that's what I struggle with. And it's very interesting, my reaction to this, because it speaks to the topic of this video. But I actually almost end up playing this game. So I start off these days very, very I am my most extroverted self. I can put on this face of a very well-spoken, almost I have what I call a bit of a salesman persona if I really force myself. It takes effort to do these kind of socially exhausting things. And I feel I fit in. whether I need to fit in is, that's another thing, maybe a topic for another video, but just me being raw, I almost feel like there's like a certain weight placed on my shoulders, like I need to prove myself. I'm almost like approval seeking in a way. And, I'm sitting through this 8-hour day where they're constantly making us chop and change tables, spending so much time around different people who are all kind of cut from that same cloth, are very ambitious, status oriented, not necessarily bad people, but again, they're like, is that type of person, that competitive type of person. And I'm putting in effort, I'm keeping up this appearance that I'm like them. And deep down, I don't really feel like I am. But truth be told, I've had days like this, because I probably had like about 4 or 5 of them, where it's gone well, where I felt like I've portrayed myself in the way that I want to portray myself, as this like, young, ambitious person who's confident. Because I am confident, but it's keeping up this illusion that I am a certain kind of person. And I feel like I've kind of almost won the approval of the group. And shown myself to be like them. But I'm always conscious of the fact that when I come home from these days, I'm completely drained. And I feel like I've been acting out of alignment with who I really am, but on the surface level, I'm happy because it felt like I proved to myself that, I can be like these people. I don't need to have come from a fancy uni to hang with the semi-successful people who's successful at this stage in their career. But then just on the most recent event, because we all go out for drinks, like it's quite socially demanding. You have to sit through this whole day of training, then everyone goes for drinks. And that's like round 2, it feels like. And just on this last occasion, I kind of went in on myself. I think by that point I really was drained, and I became like really introverted and going into my shell. Like it just felt like I was in my own head, and I wasn't contributing as much as I'd like. And people also weren't really involving me in the conversation. I kind of felt like a little bit ignored. Like I'd spent time building up some of these relationships, doing all the networking stuff, and then I kind of just, for one reason or another, felt like a bit of a failure. When you're kind of in a group discussion and it's really lively between a couple of people and you have individuals on the edge of a conversation. That's how it felt like for me. And that kind of hurt me. I'm someone who gets consciously aware, painfully aware of like when I've gone a long time without saying anything. And I'm already kind of on guard a little bit. Like I feel the need to like impress them in a way. And yeah, I just feel like I'm not representing myself the way that I want to, and I'm being awkward. So this is where I feel like my reaction is really interesting and really telling. After a certain point that evening, I started to tell myself things like, what's the point in you even being here? You've known for a while that these people are shallow. These people, they're not your people. They don't make you feel good. Some of them can be like quite, I'm not going to say arrogant, but they can be quite boastful. And you know what? I think they're bad people. These were the thoughts that I was getting. Thoughts telling me you should just leave right now. Like, what's the point? And I ended up going home and just feeling kind of empty. Like, fuck, I just failed that entire day. Like, I worked really hard. I drained myself socially. And it was all kind of for nothing. So I felt very disappointed. But simultaneously, I had this weird kind of satisfaction. It was almost like a tiny bit like relieved. And this was because I think I was almost like waiting for a reason to tell myself that this was never going to work. Because I'd had these similar thoughts after days that had been like, I considered them more successful. And it was always in the back of my mind, like, sure, you did well, you did something today, like you got them to like you today, but it's never going to last. You know, they'll see who you really are. And this was kind of like, this experience today was almost like validating that part of my brain, like, you know, I was right all along. I should never have trusted these people. They're always going to betray me. Now, do you know what this is? This is like a very complicated part of the human psyche, and this is what I'm really trying to understand about myself. Because I'll just have these kind of reactions out of nowhere. Like, I'm not looking at the objective reality of a situation. You could say all of this is on me, like, why am I trying too hard? This is probably what you're thinking watching this video. Why am I trying so hard to win approval? And this is the root of the problem. So, the same reason I feel compelled to impress these people is the same reason I'm now telling myself these stories about them. They're bad people, they're shallow, they're status oriented, get them out of your life. It's all protecting me from some kind of pain. It's not based on right now, it's based on the past. What's happening right now is I'm anticipating some kind of pain. I'm expecting to be hurt or let down. And my body doesn't want to feel that. So it's trying to get me out of the situation. And one of the ways it's doing that, first of all, is trying to gain their approval. If I win their approval, if they're on my side, they can't hurt me. And I think once I realised things weren't going to plan based on whatever invisible standard I held myself to, my brain starts telling me, you need to reject them before they can outright reject you. It's honestly one of the most interesting things I've learned about myself. I tend to do this. If there's like a group of people whose opinions I'm quite invested in, when it's not going 100% right, I get to a certain point where I feel like mentally I cut my losses, I detach, and then I'll start telling myself stories like they're bad people anyway, they're bad people, to almost justify how I feel inside. It's like I reject them before they outright reject me, before they can cause me any pain. Because I'm already hurt and I'm trying to stop myself from feeling hurt. I'm not even aware of this. But it's like I said, this is not, these complicated emotional reactions, they're not based on right now, they're not based on the current reality. It all comes from the past. It's specifically your nervous system, the thing designed to protect you from danger, not just physical danger, but emotional danger. It's been conditioned by things that have happened to me in the past. If you think of the nervous system's role as to just protect you from any kind of danger, then how do you think it's been trained to do that? It's in situations like this that remind me of something from the past. Some kind of painful experience, something so traumatic that my nervous system felt the need to correct that and now compensates for it in situations like I don't want to be so cryptic about it, so I'm just going to give you what I think it is, because it's hard to pinpoint any specific experience. It can kind of just be like a range of experience. Rather than like a physical memory, it's an emotional memory. It's a memory of like some great feeling of emotional pain, shame, humiliation, rejection, things like these. So how I learned what the cause was, or at least what I suspect to be the cause, is this kind of thing where I end up going from approval seeking to expecting betrayal and then rejecting people. It's always around the same type of person. My brain sets off alarm bells around people who are they're projecting a lot of confident energy. A lot of extroverted people, really, and a lot of people who are quite dominant. They, like it or not, like whether they realize it or not, they are kind of a dominant presence in space. Like, they're not afraid to show off their achievements or the fact that they are quite confident and they can handle themselves. Now, for me, what's quite interesting is my brain automatically thinks of this person as like they can't be a good person, or someone who can potentially cause me some kind of harm. Whether or not they're a good, like, I just want to preface this, like, just in case, I hope no one from this scheme is seeing this, but I suppose they might. What I'm trying to say is I don't think any of these people are bad people. I think this is more coming from my side. I'm being triggered by something from the past, which is making me almost default to thinking people with these characteristics are bad people. And the reality is they're not. They're a stand-in for people from the past who've hurt me. It could be bullies. I think all the people from my childhood who bullied me, they share this kind of trait. Like, they're all kind of very confident. They're not afraid of like putting that confident energy out there and almost using it to like make other people feel worse in a way. All my bullies were like very quite extroverted, dominant people, and they could use that power to kind of like change the dynamics in the group. Like, I've been in friend groups where there's almost like a hierarchy and everyone just picks on everyone else. You advance your own status by like putting other people down and making them feel bad. But there's always people at the top who, like, they're the most confident, they're the most quick-witted. If someone insults them, they know very quickly not to try it again, because they'll come back 10 times worse with something like really sharp insult, and it makes you think, damn, I'm not going to mess with that person again. So they end up rising to like the top of the hierarchy. And then you have the people below. Like, I always felt like I was towards the bottom of the group hierarchy. So even in a weird way, like, even though I looked at these people as my friends at the time, you almost learn to fear them, to fear someone with this set of characteristics. They would humiliate me in front of the rest of the group. Even the people in the bullies who weren't in my friend group, they would do the same thing to me. They would look for opportunities to ridicule me in front of the whole class. So basically, my nervous system learned that this type of person can cause you pain. I don't feel like this around like other introverted people. I just don't. I don't look at them as a threat. I don't look at them as someone who's going to shame me. But now I look at people, I'm triggered. My nervous system gets triggered by people with these specific characteristics, because even if this person is like a very warm, like almost quite a loving person, I look at people with that like confident, very self-assured, dominant social energy, and I think this person is only a matter of time before they hurt me. So whether it's approval seeking or later on rejecting them, my nervous system is trying to protect me. Whether they're a good person or not doesn't come into it. So this is what's been so insightful. Like, I realize I'm looking at the world, or specifically this kind of person, with like, my judgment can't really be relied on. I always feel like they're going to betray me. And I know like I have a specific set of circumstances, like this is how I feel about a certain type of person, but maybe you've been triggered by a different type of person, and or some kind of past experience where you have been betrayed or hurt. It's worse. I've seen this in people who've like, they've been betrayed by family members, like they have real trust issues. And they almost, I've had like specific friendships that have ended now. And a lot of them have something in common. It's like one or two of them, I almost felt like they had this thing like where they just expected people to let them down because it had happened so much in the past. Or it's kind of people who tell you like trust no one. Like, I think that's a really depressing way to live life, just with your guard up, like keeping everyone at an arm's length. But ultimately, life has trained you to do that. And whether you're open to changing that or not that's up to you. So if you've made it this far in this video, I think a lot of people would have expected me to say something like, you know, you think you see these people as they're always going to betray you, you can't trust anyone, but actually that's misplaced. You know, that's your past talking. And whilst that is true, I'm not going to start lecturing you on you're wrong for that or you're wrong for feeling that way, because your past is your past. And I'd be lying if I said that sometimes when those alarm bells go off around these types of people that I'm wrong for that, because sometimes it's helped me avoid people who actually, I know they're not going to be good friends, or I'm not going to have a good relationship with them. And they are the kind of person to put other people down. That's when your nervous system's working. But what I don't like is the fact that this starts to cloud my relationships. Like, this is an internal problem. This is an emotional problem. But sometimes, like, imagine in that networking group when we were all out drinking, if you'd have been watching me, you could have seen like a switch go off in my head. Like I switch into a different type of person, someone who is almost emotionally checked out. And what I worry about is that actually does start to affect my external world. Like if you're talking to someone and you have this kind of mindset, like they're about to betray you, that actually does make you come across like in a bit more of like a negative way. You become like less expressive, less curious, you're not going to be warm, or you aren't going to exhibit the traits that people do look for in new friends. And I've had this, and because of this internal reality that you believe, it has an effect on the outside world. Or I've seen this in friends where people are trying to like reach out to them. People are showing a genuine interest in them. And because of their nervous system firing up, they just give nothing back. So this internal problem becomes the external reality. So I guess I don't really have any real solution for this other than try your best to be aware of those patterns. Like, I'm not going to say this is new knowledge, like some people will know about this, but I didn't for a long time. And it's amazing to me that so much of this can be going on below the surface and you're not even aware of it. Just constantly throughout the day, you're being triggered by things from the past that almost change the way you look at the world. It could be it could be something neutral, but you just start to look at it as this really negative thing. You project your own meaning onto the situation when there isn't necessarily meaning there. I don't think I have anything more to say on this, but I hope you found some use in it. Take care.